PM on November 4th, 2024. First item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, and it looks like we do have a flag over here. Ready? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I like the little kids doing it better.
I feel like we should dispense with that. All right. The Mashpee Public Schools recognize and honor the many generations of Wampanoag people who live and have been sustained in this territory for more than 10,000 years. All right, with that, I want to ratify the agenda that's presented here. We're going to be talking about the timeline, the stakeholder survey, which you have copies of and which you received copies of, the job posting, and also the composition of the search committee. Is there anything else that needs to be added? I think this is.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to ratify the agenda as presented to us of November 4th, 2024.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Kathy. Any further discussion? Brandon, Kelly,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
And I will be yes too. Just to recognize that Dan is absent, and will not be joining tonight's meeting, but we do have a quorum. All right, first, item I want to take up here is the, public comment.
We do not have any at this time. Oh, Miss Dr. Hanson, would you like to make public comment?
I'm not the only person here.
In any public comment?
No, thank you.
No, we have none.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you for that. Okay. You have the search timeline in front of you. We will talk a little more detail in regards to the search when we look at the job posting. We are still on track, although condensed a little bit in regard to the later phases. But hopefully tonight we will be approving the job posting and the search committee so that we can get that out and posted. Ideally, if we can post that tomorrow, ask for inquiries, give people a week. We have a meeting next Wednesday, and I would hope that we'd be at a point where we can approve the composition of the search committee as far as the constituents. That would be the goal. But we have to decide tonight who will be on as far as positions.
Yep.
Okay? We'll get to that in a minute. Any questions on the timeline so far? All right, I'm gonna move then to the stakeholder survey, which is in your packet. So, just to recap again on the survey, we asked some open-ended questions, and we also asked people to identify kind of their top 10 as far as personal and professional attributes that they believe that the next superintendent should possess. So the first was number 2 in your packet, 2 through 6 is just a copy of what the survey was. Then starting with page 7 of the survey, that gives you the results. As far as page number on here, page 8. Page 8 gives you information in regard to the respondents to survey, you have a question already?
Yeah, I'm a little curious if we know the open rate of the students. I spoke to a couple students who said they did not even receive the email. So I am questioning that number and whether or not it actually got to all students, because the students I spoke with said, and they checked their junk, they never got an email.
I can look back at my, School Status Connect and I can tell you exactly who it was delivered to and who
Yeah.
opened it even.
That'd be good, just
So I can
because
do that
with
tomorrow.
only 12
Did you receive it?
respondents,
We receive the emails through School Status Connect, but we can't get into the site.
so
We
that,
can only
Oh, I
see-
wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, it was, cause when we first started using it, it was just kind of, I meant to say something, but I didn't.
No, you
I did, but it was kind of like confusing. But yeah, you cannot, this kids, and I've tried using my personal email, I've tried using my school email, tried signing with Google, just regular, through the sign in, and it didn't, it says there's no, like, I'm not registered, so I can't get in.
Did you end up, can I ask a question? Because when you reached out this summer, did you end up working with Ms. Brooks on this?
I didn't.
Which I'm not expecting you to,
No.
it's not your responsibility, but I'm gonna email her and just,
Yes,
I know one student did it from their phone,
I've tried.
it didn't work.
I'm wondering if that's.
I've tried with the app.
that's exactly right.
No, like,
12.
got Ms. Minitsky's email,
Yeah, but the rest
Got
of
Ms.
it
Minitsky's
didn't
email,
come to us
clicked,
like that.
cause the email for School
Yeah.
Status Connect sends you the link as well, not just to the message, but to the Google form, and was able to get into the Google form from that email.
Mhm.
Were you able to do that?
I could get into the Google form, I just can't get into
Schools,
Status.
which you don't have to fill it out, cause it's a
Yes.
Google form.
But like,
But I
But
don't,
the
Send
app
it out.
itself is a
And I'm
problem,
like-
for sure.
okay.
That's a separate, I just wanted to
Yes.
make sure you
but to
can
get to
in.
the link, it was a lot of extra work, right?
to get into, cause I know some of my teachers will use it to send that stuff. I've never gotten an email saying from a teacher, they've submitted this, I think I've only gotten stuff from you. Like I know a bunch of stuff came out from the seniors lately from Ms. Turka, and it went to my mom, but she had sent it to me, but it didn't come through.
Okay,
That's not good.
yeah, I'm a little, I saw that number and then I started talking to some of the kids I knew and they said they,
So, let me just recap what you're telling me.
Mhm.
So, there's a systemic issue with being able to access Google Forms?
No,
No.
School Status Connect.
And that's how they sent it out to
It
the
was-
students.
it was sent out,
sent- To everybody. Was that, yeah,
To even members of the community.
everybody. Well, or whoever's on our school status list.
but the
Members of
link
the
was then
community would-
posted through Facebook.
And on
I
the
didn't
school
do that, I
website.
No,
was
I know.
asked Consuelo to,
Yeah.
to post
Consuelo
that,
did
it was
put
on
it
the school
on
And
the
I'll be
website.
honest, I clicked through that Facebook post just because it was right there and accessible,
Yeah,
so.
I went through the school from actual school page. When I
it's posted on the school.
Yeah, when you go to the school.
But it was
web-
just a link, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's how I connected to it, was that way.
So it sounds like we have a systemic issue
Yes.
here
Yes.
with how
I
these
wouldn't,
things are being.
I wouldn't paint it that dramatically or drastically. I think it's more there's a learning curve because School Status Connect is new this year. I'm not sure that everyone was aware of how to maneuver within this new
But this isn't the
program.
first time, and I think Mr. and Dr. Thompson said the same thing.
Newsletters have had
is
issues
We've had
too.
enormous issues with School Status Connect.
When I send my Wednesday weekly, I don't have an issue with it,
No.
over 2,000 people read it.
But there's no link to click,
Okay.
I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
It
It's
might be
like
that.
there's nothing,
How about when Mr. Prentice sends it and there's a link to the Falcon Eye, I wonder?
no,
I just
There are
get
no
it as an
issues with
email.
that. Yeah, I've never heard any issues with
No.
that.
All right,
I'm
We're not gonna
emailing
do-
Mrs. Brooks right now, though.
Okay.
about the
Thank
student
you.
numbers.
we're not gonna resolve the technology issue
no, but I guess
tonight,
I'm
but
just,
we need to be aware of it.
it would be nice if we could get a resend or something to get more student input, I guess is where I'm getting at with this.
It was a slow turnaround, anyway, it was
It was a week.
very
It was
short
a very,
amount of
and that
time.
was my next
Sorry, it's not my
comment.
turn to talk, it's
That's
hard not
okay.
to talk.
That was my next comment, is I feel this is premature and wasn't open enough or long enough for a full gathering of data, and I think these numbers reflect that.
Okay,
A week is not enough time to collect this kind of substantial data.
well, obviously we can reopen it, that'll push back the timeline, if the committee wants to hold it open to get more information. You know, of the respondents that we have, if you go to page 9, you know, this is, we asked people for the top 10, and this was the top 10 based upon the feedback that you got. Now, the purpose of this is to help guide in determining what the committee wants the next superintendent, what attributes you would be looking for. This doesn't necessarily have to be a mandate, but it's there for your consideration in regard to what criteria you want to at least publish now in the job posting. And obviously you can develop, the search committee can develop additional items through the questions that they're going to be presenting, but this, the committee should determine what is the priorities that we're looking for. So you have, these are the summarized captions, and you have there with page 2, actually on page, I think it's starting on page 3, or what the expanded narratives were for each of them. And continuing on, we had write-ins, responses. So you can see what all of those were. And what the identified source of those write-ins were.
Again, this is why I think if we opened it up even for a couple more days, I feel this was very administrator and teaching staff heavy in terms of the responses. I don't feel we have enough parent, guardian, or student input in this to really consider these results to be something we really can work off of. I read through all of them, like every one. I guess I feel it's very heavy from the internal voice as opposed to like the parents and students. And I understand it's pushing a timeline back. I don't want to rush it, but I also don't want parents and students to feel their voices weren't heard, and if there was an issue with accessing this, I guess I have a concern about these results and how they really, like, are they really just reflecting the staff and administration, or is it really reflective of parents and guardians as well, and what they feel their children need in the leader of the district?
Well, I will point out that the majority of the respondents were parents and guardians for what we received. So,
51 though, we have more than 51 families, I guess is.
no, I know.
I don't think it had a good 117 was the total.
Right.
I mean, we've got 1,600 kids in
But
it.
the 117 isn't that, you look at the 51, so.
I mean, if we look at when we do our annual survey,
Households are about 1,069.
we normally would get close to half, maybe a little more, if we do repeated efforts.
Mhm.
I mean, we've only got 4% of our families responding.
No, it's totally up to the committee. If we want to keep this open for another week, we can do that.
I mean, I'm one voice. If the committee feels that, working with the data we have is enough, I obviously defer to the will of the committee. I just personally feel that I know a lot of parents and guardians really wanted to have a say. And I still think the students, I'd like to hear some more from them. I think some of their comments were interesting. I mean, they kind of all went along the same vein. Vaping, heard loud and clear, bullying.
Right.
I have a problem with that. I really do, with the students' responses. because we're being told by the administration that they have 0 reprimands, 0 this, 0 that, but the students are clearly saying, we have a problem. So how come the students know that there's a problem, and in their eyes and in ours, nothing's being done about this problem?
I don't know that it's fair to say nothing's being done. I think we're getting a little off track of what we're here to talk about tonight, but
So, let's take vaping for example. How would you consider that in regard to the next superintendent and building into, is that a priority that you think you should be looking at?
I think we need a strong leader that's going to hold, the administration accountable for doing or not doing their jobs.
So does that fall under, I think that falls under some of the items that we had put in here, right?
Could be problem solving, it could be,
Right, problem solving was one of them, there was,
be
Mr.
collaborative.
Chair, I mean, I understand, Kathy's point, but I also see the point that some of the, faculty and staff that we have are parents and families, but I think that like the community and the students have another bite at the apple by, Eve going back, or maybe this is a discussion we have with you all while you guys do an internal thing or figure out if there's a different process that you all do, and if you're on the committee, then you're on the committee or maybe a representative, because as we establish the search committee, I feel like it gives the opportunity for the parents or people to be on the search committee in the next process as well as the students. I don't know.
I know right now, the student advisory committee is kind of in a standstill. I know that they interviewed one candidate, but I've not been told who that is yet.
for an advisor, right?
Yes, for an advisor. It was just recently that I heard about it.
I think today was the interview.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what.
No, the person was
Oh,
interviewed,
was it?
the posting needed to go back up for 5 more days,
Yeah.
because it wasn't posted correctly at the high school. And so
Really?
you
Okay.
got the wrong girl.
No,
No, and it's no
Interesting.
one's actual fault
No,
because this was sort of a cluster to begin
Yes,
with.
it was.
But I believe that the superintendent will be able to give an appointment letter by, what day is today? Monday? I think by Wednesday.
Awesome. And so, yeah, I would love to work with the students more, with like going, and I really wanna part of bringing the supervisor committee, I wanna bring in, like, work more also with the Washington kids this year, cause I know they have a student council, and I think it would be really beneficial to work with them, like, once a month or so. So they have a say, especially in this, and possibly get to PCC, I don't really know. But, yeah, hopefully once I get the advisor, I can start kind of organizing more and then we can work with the kids in the school.
So just circling back, in regard to the vaping, I think that falls under, the collaborative approach. I think it falls under problem solving, student interaction. So there's a number of, if you wanted to, you could take and map every one of those comments
To some, yeah.
to one of the criteria, and then the question is that, are the criterion that you end up with the ones that you want? That next reader to,
Yes, maybe we can look at them that way. I can do a different type of report so that you can see where they fall under. I can take those comments and make it, no, it's really not, and, cause a lot of them are very similar. What they would fall under as far as attributes.
I think that this list works personally. I don't wanna see you have to do more work. I think we can figure out which ones fall under which attributes,
Okay.
but that's again, just in my opinion.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question
yes,
about the timeline?
yeah.
It feels like you're trying to retrofit an old timeline on a current place where we're not. And I'm curious if there's flexibility in the timeline. From what I saw, you wanted to appoint by December 20th. That feels like a conversation you all need to have now because everything else depends on that and that feels real fast to me.
That's,
So thank you for letting me speak.
Yeah, no, that's a accurate depiction. So if if the goal is to appoint by the end of the year,
Calendar.
end of the calendar year, yes, end of the calendar year, which is when most, I believe, superintendents have to give notice to their districts, then this is what the timeline would be. But I gave you copies of some of the postings for other districts, and some of them go into next year. And we could totally do that. You know, we could go into January. I don't know that you wanna go into February, but you can.
What's stopping us from posting it?
From posting it down?
Yeah.
You can decide tonight that those are the criterion that you wanna use, and then if that's the will of the committee, if we can move forward. It's totally up to the majority of the committee.
Mr. Chair?
Sure.
My suggestion, would be to look just at the posting. I think these survey results are more for the, like, subcommittee, the search committee, to really consider. I think we know that all of those pieces that we've asked about, we want. It's just a matter of which ones people see as more priority, which I think will inform the questions that are asked personally. I think the draft we have here, there's a few tweaks to it, I think, that are needed, but I feel like we as a committee could vote on the posting tonight, because again, all of these qualities and qualifications that we have in the survey, we know we want in our next superintendent, but I think it's more the search committee to drill down into the specifics and which ones are more important than others, and to really dig into. I feel like this draft is a good start. Like I said, there's a couple of tweaks I'm seeing right off the bat I would probably like to suggest. But personally, that would give the time for the survey to be open a little bit longer. And then when that subcommittee is able to start, digging into resumes and making however we do it, however we review them, they'll have the survey results a little bit more comprehensive, perhaps, to hold up against the received applicants.
Yeah, so, the survey, I believe, has 25 attributes that I pulled together from what Mask had done in the past, and also the conversations that we had at our joint meeting with the tribe. So there's a lot of attributes there, and if we find someone that has all 25, I think we should all be congratulated. But I was trying to limit it to 10, because to even get 10 may be a challenge. But Glenn, I'm gonna ask you just to step in for a second. The approach that Kathy is talking about, does that sound like what you would see the search committee doing? Did you hear her?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
I still with me, please.
Is he muted?
No, now, yes.
No.
You're muted, Glenn.
Hold on, Glenn.
Right, I'm gonna have to stay right with my phone because
Okay.
otherwise I couldn't hear anything.
So,
Could you repeat the question, please?
So the question is, can the search committee incorporate more of the attributes in their building of questions and criterion for the candidates than what we would be posting in the job advertisement?
Absolutely.
Okay.
What you're posting for the job interview or the job description tells them what you're looking for. But the search committee can probe around any other areas that it wishes.
Okay. I just wanna make sure we're all on the same page.
But when the candidate answers those questions, the candidates will know what you're looking for by having had that information in the brochure, so they can tailor their responses appropriately.
Okay. Before we move off of the survey and follow up on yours, is the committee okay with posting the survey results on the school website? That, we did talk, I had shared it with Glenn earlier, and one suggestion he said, is that we should take a look at the, write-in comments, just to make sure that there are nothing,
No personal information, yeah.
So we will,
So you're gonna post these comments?
all of it.
The whole entire survey.
We don't wanna wait till we collect more answers, or we're just gonna put it out now like this?
We can post it now, and we can
And we
update.
can,
update.
then we can
Okay,
update.
if we're gonna update it, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah, this should not be, if we're gonna repost this to get more input, then we should update that.
Well, I guess my question though is if we post it and we're requesting more, are we influencing those who've yet to take it?
We can hold off and post it once we close the survey.
When am I opening this up back until?
How much more time do you guys think is necessary? Another week? 2 weeks? And I guess similarly, how do we, well, somehow we gotta resolve the technological issue.
I have a different way that I can send it to the classes, to students.
And maybe that's all we should do, is open back up to the students.
But
I
You
mean,
can open it back up to everybody.
Yeah, we can open it back up to
I
everybody.
would say at least a week.
What if you do it till November 15th?
That's
I was
fine.
just
Yeah,
thinking that.
that's what I was gonna
November
say.
15th?
Yep, that's a Friday.
Okay. Do I have a motion to do that then?
Motion, so moved. To open the superintendent stakeholder survey tomorrow as soon as possible through November 15th.
Okay. Do I have a second on that? Second by Brian. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Brian? Kathy?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes too. All right, so we'll reopen the survey for additional input from our stakeholders. That's not a problem. Okay. So, let's talk about the posting. So you all, each of you have a copy of it, I believe. It should be this blue thing. So, any questions on page 1, which is the page that has the puzzle piece? Has a, you know, some historical information regard to the school district. That information came from the interim superintendent posting that we did. Updated for the FY, updated for the budget. And updated also for the student population for 24-25. Also on here is a little blurb about the connected community. I won't take
I'm gonna,
credit for that writing, but I did edit it. But I believe that was information I took from the Chamber of Commerce.
one comment, there's a lot on this page. Can we remove that I fitted MPS box so that you got a little bit more real estate to put that writing in that Mashpee Falcon in the top left is not cut up?
So what do you want to do?
Get rid of the I fitted MPS, cause one, it's not really our school colors. Two, it's taking up a lot of space.
It's just colors.
And it's just,
not-
it's a lot, there's a lot on this, and it's kinda hard to focus. And so I feel like get rid of that. That allows for these two blocks at the top to be kind of maybe made into one block. I don't know. I know it's kind of formatting and I
I wouldn't
don't mean to
get
be
rid-
nitpicky, but
I would not get rid of the puzzle piece, because that's showing the diversity, the inclusion, like all the puzzle pieces fit together that we.
I guess looking at some of these other ones that we have as samples though, theirs are not, we've got the picture of the beach, we've got the portrait of a graduate logo, we've got the Mashpee M logo. Like, I just feel like that there is a lot going on here, and it's kind of like the Braintree one where there's a lot going on, and I'm like, whoa, what do I read? I mean, again, I defer to the majority, but that's, my first thought when I saw this was, whoa, there's a lot.
Well, there is, and I didn't include the, as an example, the one for Springfield, which was 10 pages.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it reminded me of our budget narrative.
No, thank you.
So almost everybody I saw was 2 pages, some did it in, a couple I think read it in 3 pages. But all presented basically the same information. And similar to Kelly, I do think having the puzzle piece there to help emphasize that, we are a diverse group.
I mean, if the M's cut off here, just get rid of this M up here,
Okay.
because you've got the M with the falcons inside the puzzle piece.
But again, it's not exactly the right color.
It's
Of
just a
blue?
color, it's just
But
changing
It's
the
it-
part of
color.
the
make it-
graphic that I shared
yeah,
with
and
Dawn.
then-
If I have the graphic, I
So-
shared it with Dawn, so
Can we
can
make it
probably-
smaller then? If we get rid of the M up the top,
this is
Make
Dawn's
it
creation,
the
so
same
I'm sure we
size.
can.
as the portrait of a graduate logo, and have it kind of like a header, and then you still can move this text down. It's not a nice thing to read. I'm sorry. Like if I was applying here, I'd be like, whoa.
All right,
Do you see what I'm saying? If you take this, shrink it down to this size, blank it like that, move these two down to fit into this space, then it gives like, here's your header, here's the information. Like here they have this little header, they have this little header. They don't, they've got a header that goes across. I guess I'm just looking for something to train your eye on where do you even start reading.
wow. One thing, these are made basically for brochures that can be folded. This is not. This is made for hopefully our technologically savvy superintendent who's going to be reading us online.
Which is even worse then, because then you're really gonna have trouble focusing your eye. Sorry, I'm going back to my graphic design days here, and it's just, this is a very busy flyer.
No,
But there's a lot of information that needs to
I
go out.
understand that, I think it's the logos and the graphics that I'm struggling with on page one.
Why don't we look at Winchendon, because I think this is very straightforward, very clean, why don't we do something like that?
That's kind of what I'm proposing, keep your puzzle piece, move it up, so that you have like a header. Take those 2 squares that are there about, what we're looking for in our mission, move it down into one square where the puzzle piece is, and then you've got that, it's not as, like, where am I looking with the graphics all over?
John, would you like me to take your design and put it into something like this, and I can share it with you tomorrow? With the committee, you guys can see if you like that better?
yeah, I guess we can come up with an alternative and see if people like that.
Just to give a choice.
Okay.
I'd even get rid of the picture of the beach, because that has nothing to do with the schools.
No, it has to do with the town.
I know, but
Part of what we're selling is the town
You want somebody invested in the town, somebody
Yeah.
who,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
if that's
from
part
my
of the
personal
schools, it's
fair, no.
from my personal perspective, I want whoever we bring in to be part of this community, not a drive-by.
I think we all want that, so that makes
Okay.
sense.
So,
I wanna add more to it, so, I mean,
I'll send a mock-up tomorrow. Yes.
you know, we have the thing at the top about the tribe. You know, and then we got the pictures of all the schools. We got a picture of a beach, but there's plenty of pictures out there, you know, of the powwow that could be put on there. This is our community, this is, you know. I mean, this
My
box,
only edits are grammatical, like Morgan spelled wrong. We'll find out more about it.
is it?
And then
Oh,
maybe
yes, it is. I
yes,
see.
it is,
Megan Coons, I don't know, does it have two O's?
yes,
It
it does.
does.
It's not one.
Yep.
So. that's
I'm
not-
sorry, John, when I was proofreading and stuff. My fault.
You know, even something like this, yeah, this is in like the box
I
down
pride
here.
myself on spelling too.
You know, maybe this goes like on the bottom somewhere, or, you know.
I copied that from the website.
It's A-O-D, right?
Is the website wrong?
Now you're gonna have to go back and look at the website.
I mean, honestly, I looked up each of these and just copied the,
And one of them is
IP.
like this, shatter,
Mhm.
can be put
Okay.
in a
We'll
different
double
spot.
check.
Yeah.
That's really
I mean, I can see copies. Wait, I think
Okay.
it's
There's a
but-
lot, yeah.
I think too, you probably could spread the QR code that
So
across.
just
the bottom.
updating that stuff, that's the first page?
That's, because if we go to the second page.
Yeah.
Well, so-
that too.
Okay, so Casey Cruz,
Yeah.
There's two O's.
Close.
okay.
I mean,
Was there any
How about
other
if-
grammatical errors?
Sherry got it.
Sherry's got it.
yeah,
Sherry's
Sherry's
got it.
got 'em.
If we just look at the content of it, I can, and if you tell me that the content is good, then I can work on,
Before.
right, reformatting it for you.
All right.
As
On
long as-
page 2,
What's on has here for content is good.
in regard to the attributes, what I put on here was the top 10, and this is for the survey
Mhm.
results. And what is written here is just verbatim from what was in the survey. Now, these will need to be rewritten slightly, because the survey was looking to accomplish one thing. For example, communication skills,
Mhm.
we need to rewrite that a little bit. You know, that person will be an effective communicator.
So that was the first thing I clued in on, was that grammatical twinge there. Our next superintendent's qualities, I think if you change it to that. But I also feel like, to Glenn's point, that we're giving them the answers we wanna hear. And some of these other ones do not go into as much detail, or they combine multiple ones into bullet points. And I'm wondering, to Kelly's point, she wants more on here. If you kind of combined it like how Quabbin Regional School did, where they have like, kind of when you read through their 4 selection criteria, it kind of combines this list that we kind of have into 4 very succinct bullet points. So does East Hampton's. And so did Winchendon's. Theirs was a little bit more sparse, but I liked how East Hampton and Quabbin Regional did their selection, like, because I feel like it didn't necessarily give like what we put out to people. It kind of still left them, the candidate, an area to kind of expand on, whereas I feel like if I was applying, I could be like, okay, so I need to prep a question that says how I can adapt to changing circumstances and environments, okay? When was I empathetic? Okay, I got that one. Like, I feel like they can with these, but I feel like this one gives them even more of like a cliff notes of how to answer
But
the
aren't we gonna
question.
give them the questions ahead of time anyway, so they're prepared for the interview like we did with the intro?
I'll defer that to Glenn. Did you hear that question, Glenn?
Say it again, please.
Are we going to give the candidates the interview questions ahead of time so that they can prepare? That's what we did for the interim
Okay.
superintendent.
That's up to you. There are several options here. One of them is you could give the questions to the candidates ahead of time. The other option is that you can give the candidates copies of the questions they have with them at the interview. School committees have done it both ways.
We
Oh,
give,
the third option is don't give them anything at all.
because didn't we give them like 10 questions ahead of time?
We did.
And we were gonna pick from 5, we didn't.
Yeah, I guess I'm more like, I wanna see how you answer it in the moment personally, but I don't know if that's normal. I guess some small part of me is like, if you're the professional that has all these qualities, you should be able to answer.
I just went on an interview and none of the questions were given to me.
I don't think it's common to give them personally, but I guess I'm a meanie.
Well, one of the things to think about then is if we do post the survey,
They're gonna see it.
if they were astute enough to do their research, they would find that information available.
Yep.
I mean, we're doing mock interviews for seniors and we haven't been given questions. And they said, here are some questions that were used, but we can't say that we're gonna ever use any of them. You're just gonna have to deal with it and go with it.
Well, and even on Mask, on their website, they have standard interview questions, so, you know, last time I prepped for a serious interview, you know, one of the things you do is look at the laundry list of questions that may be asked, you know, and you'll never be able to cover 100% of them. And there will always be that oddball one, like, how many M&Ms does it take to fill up a 747? Which I don't know what the right answer is for that one, but, you know.
I don't think you should ask that one.
Yeah.
There are some organizations that have asked stupid questions like that, in my opinion, but anyway.
I think one of the benefits of posting the survey results though is the transparency
Yes.
that everybody is
It's asking,
saying
yeah.
that they want and asking for. And if you look at I've done a lot of research through this process on other districts, almost all of their websites have their surveys and their survey results posted. A lot of them, a good majority of them. It's again up to you, but I'm just telling you what I found.
But I feel like that's not the same as the questions. Like, they might
Oh,
see
no,
what
I
we're looking
agree
for,
with-
but I think the
agree with
questions.
The questions.
So I guess then if we're
I
posting the
disagree
survey
with that.
results, you can scratch that comment. But to Kelly's point, if she wants to add more, if we collapse them into, you know, take these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is it really
There's 10.
10? You sure?
Yep, there's 10.
Yeah, I mean,
10,
I picked
11,
just
12,
four.
there's 12.
So, is it 12?
Yeah.
There should be
1, 2, 3, 4,
looking at
5,
them,
6,
maybe.
7,
There's
8,
12
9,
probably
10,
because
11,
there's
12.
there's two
Yeah.
categories where they're tied.
Oh,
So-
yeah,
Okay.
so it's totally up to the committee. If you wanna put 4 up there, if you wanna put 12 up there,
But who was it that said the buck, was it Sherry, you were saying that we could take them and put them into like, I know I said we didn't wanna make extra work, but
Whatever you want, I
No,
can
but
do.
if you look at like
Just tell me what you
East
want.
Hampton, they have a collaborative leader, an experienced educator, accessible superintendent, progressive innovator, but then they throw in under those 4 things, this list, if you look at it. You know what I mean?
yeah, you can collapse some of these into themselves, or you can just pick the ones you want and
I mean, you don't even really need to put, you could do communication skills, problem-solving abilities, you know, collaborative approach, and not put all of this stuff underneath it,
yeah, you can take that
Do
out.
that too, and that would collapse
That
and
would
give you some
collapse it.
space.
right?
Well, that's what I did with the list. When I seen the list of 10, I just did the 4 that because I know we talked about looking at what we were talking about, communication skills, problem solving abilities, collaborative approach, and visionary leadership. Those are my top 4. So, and like maybe if we all come to a consensus, then we can narrow it down. Or
Yeah, we can
if
do
we
that.
want to, I mean.
And the other point was there something else on the list that didn't reflect in this top 10 or 12 that someone believes we should have there as a key criteria?
Yes,
Oh,
there was.
So, because, you know, those are, this is the point where we should talk about it as far as what we're posting. And obviously, the search committee can incorporate all of those attributes if they want, and formulate questions about them, and I wouldn't discourage them from doing that. But for what we want to post,
There were two that I saw that weren't in the top that I'm making sure they're not before I say this. The collective bargaining experience and the team building experience, or team building, which, I mean, could come through visionary leadership. Again, they don't necessarily have to be on here, but those were, collective bargaining experience was definitely something on my list. You know, Brian said he had his top 4. That was my number 1. Communication skills was my number 2. Improving and maintaining high academic performance was my number 3. And then my number 4, although financial management, is that on here?
yeah, so
Yeah,
last
it's
one.
last
Collective bargaining could go under that, I guess, in a sense, but, the other one was, it might have been, sorry, was the collaborative approach, sorry, that was my 4th. What do you guys think?
I'm
What's
just
up,
gonna say, let's remember that this is just but this is the posting. This is to get people interested. It's
Yeah.
not, so, I mean, collective bargaining, sure, and financial management, those are all super important things. But when somebody goes to look for a job, but they're not gonna say, oh, you know what I mean, like those,
Fair.
you know what I mean? They're not the most important. We will.
So then to Brian's point, if we just take the pieces out, you know, the explanations, I don't know.
Yeah, if we wanna collapse, I mean, those explanations were there for people who don't know what those are.
Well, if they want to be a superintendent.
They should know what.
Right, right, but for
Alright. That made me
for the
laugh.
purpose of the survey, I put those in,
Right.
I put those in there so that people would know what we're talking about when you
Yeah.
talk about, being empathetic. You know, what does that really mean? So, we tried to put those little explanations, those don't have to be in here. And like I said earlier, I just copied for expedience purposes, that information
Yeah.
directly from the survey, because I knew that we would edit this. And so, you know, if we wanna,
A lot of these can be grouped together
Yeah.
into one
Yeah.
to make it more concise,
Yeah.
and then there's probably 6.
Yeah.
6 characteristics, and they don't need to have the description after them, they can just,
And it could just be qualities of our next
or,
superintendent.
right,
okay,
and like I said, I'll play with it.
We give it to the boss, let him do it.
No, I'm not saying that, just say, no, here, no, listen.
So,
okay, so the
Should be.
decision is we're gonna keep these, but combine them down
collapse
to
them, yeah.
Collapse them.
6
Yeah.
or so?
Yeah.
Okay. Then,
I mean,
I guess
qualifications
the
are
question is, so that's
qualifications.
gonna free up some space.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. I would move the find out more about us onto the second page and put it right under that. Because then you can spread out the QR codes a little bit more, it gives you a little bit more real estate to work with in that, but,
Okay, you can do that.
and then you can, again,
So-
move things down.
All right, so do you want any more pictures added here? I did not wanna put anything that had kids in it because of privacy issues.
It's on the
So-
front page of our public school website.
I'm gonna say these two have kid pictures on them.
Right, and if they wanna see that, they just pop over to the website.
Mhm.
They're not gonna really care about that, in my opinion.
Or we're gonna keep the puzzle on the front, if not, we could move to the back.
I think it should stay on the front personally. I think it.
I don't think we need 2 falcons, we got 1 falcon up here, and then we got the M with the falcons in the middle of the puzzle.
Okay,
To make it easier, whatever, we're trying to get rid of on the front, put on the back, each, whatever.
I think No, I think if you just take this, find out more about us. So if we do
Put
what
it
we
on
said
the back.
before and we shrink down the puzzle, move it up top, get rid of the find out more about us, that gives you a ton of room to move everything down so it's not all like this giant jumbled cluster of words. And then the back will have the first column will have qualities of our next superintendent, find out more about us with the websites and the QR codes. Then the second column is the qualifications, which I know Kelly, you said I also have some comments in that one.
Okay,
But
so let's talk about the qualifications then. Do you have a question on that or concern, Kelly?
The qualifications?
Yeah.
I'd like it to actually say PhD or ED dot, what is it, that ED dot D for doctorate, I'd like it to actually say that. I don't want it to just say advanced degree preferred, I'd like it to actually say PhD or ED.
Required or
Yep,
preferred?
preferred. I'd love to make it required, but I'm living in reality here.
I guess that's what advanced degree preferred.
I'd like to know that they've got the EDD is, I'd like it to be those two, I guess. I don't wanna have a JD, cause technically you could just have your law degree and apply, cause that's an advanced degree. I could apply with my MPA, I think I want it to be,
Could be a
Specific.
CAGS too. An
Hmm?
advanced degree is also a CAGS.
yeah.
So if you don't want the CAGS and you want the doctorate, then
Okay.
being articulating that.
I mean, realistically,
Makes
from
a
a
difference.
professional standpoint, are there more CAGs that would apply, or like, are we limiting ourselves by doing that,
I
or?
think if you say preferred, you're not,
Yeah, okay,
and I think there are a lot of, if you're going for a superintendency, you're gonna go for it whether you have a CAGS or an EDD or a PhD.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be up to the screening
Yeah.
committee to decide, but putting out there what you want, if that is what you in fact
personally, that's what I would prefer. If anybody else feels differently, I am totally okay with that, that's my first thing that jumped out on me there.
Well, as long as it's preferred, I don't,
Well, and
Yeah,
see,
it would be
that's where I have a problem, because I specifically know a person who has 2 doctorates, 3 masters, you know, and is not a very intelligent person. So just because you have all these pieces of paper, you know, doesn't mean that you would be the best suited for the position.
Typically, though, I'll push back on that, EDDs and PhDs in education typically are coming from a teaching environment. They're not someone who just kind of decided one day, I'm gonna go get this degree. Typically, they're coming from the career itself, and that's just the way it went. So I hear what you're saying, and yeah, a piece of paper doesn't always denote brilliance, but I think if we say it's preferred, that will, I think, help us.
So what are the advanced degrees preferred that you want? You just don't want it to say just advanced degrees, you want PhD?
PhD or ED.
D, EDD, capital E, lowercase d, dot, capital D.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, if we look back at, you know, our past superintendent, she did not have that.
And I don't want that to,
So this.
I
I don't
think
want
it's
that
gonna
to
make it
disqualify
invalid.
anybody,
I don't
and
think
I
it
don't want
will.
that
It
to
won't.
push anybody
If they
off
want
to
It's
say,
preferred.
oh, I don't have one of those, so I'm not gonna apply to this
It-
because that's what they prefer.
It won't.
I just don't wanna push a good candidate away
Okay.
because they don't have those things.
Kathy, did you have any other comments on
The
that?
only other one that I noticed on these other ones is, it says a minimum of 15 years in education.
Yeah.
And we listed out, some of these other ones actually say how many years in each section, like 3 years in administrative and or central, 5 years teaching.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think one change that we should make is, that we say 15 years in education, which may include instructional, central office, administrative, and or building experience.
Yeah,
It doesn't preclude an applicant because they don't have all of that. But that will be up to the screening committee then to determine, you know, does the candidate have the appropriate experience that you're looking for, okay? So we'll make that change. Any other
What's
questions?
fringe benefits? What kind of fringe benefits they get?
Healthcare?
That's a fringe benefit?
Yes.
What about this timeline? You wanna keep the timeline like that for now?
Yeah, cause if we're not making the survey will still be open, but it's not dependent upon the survey being closed
I think
because
that's too
the,
quick.
search committee will still have access to that information.
I think that's not, I don't think that's long enough. Today's November 4th. So deadline for receiving applications and credentials is less than, by the time we get this all done, let's say,
It's like 2
Sherry's superwoman and can get it done for us in a couple of days. That's leaving 2, possibly 3 weeks.
I would say December 6th personally. Is that what you were thinking, Kelly?
Yeah, I was thinking the 6th
How
or the
long is
9th.
typical
Yeah, Glenn, how long is typical
to post?
to post and close the
Uh,
search?
I'd say 3 weeks is not a bad amount. Some do it for 5,
I was
but
thinking
no matter
5.
what you do, the applications will come in the last week.
I was thinking the 13th, December 13th.
Okay.
That's a good date, because that would give everybody a month.
Yeah, that's what I'm figuring. Okay,
Alright,
change that
You
to
wanna do that?
December
Okay.
13.
December 13th.
And then we go, 10 days from that for the preliminary interviews?
Well, then
Get into
the problem
holidays.
becomes the holidays. That's,
So we start
January.
interviews when we get back.
Yeah.
We start them on the 6th, the week of the 6th,
January? That was it?
Yeah. right? I mean, I don't know,
The
what do you guys
preliminary.
think?
Well, when you're saying preliminary interviews, because this is where,
That's what the screening committee.
yeah, so the screening
but see,
committee,
the screening committee, when we got Dr. Thompson, we didn't interview anybody.
This is very
It's
different though.
completely
This is a very different, we can't even, that's a whole,
yeah,
like,
that's apples
pretend
and
that never
oranges.
happened.
That's
So you're
totally
thinking-
apples and oranges.
So January 6th, so the 6th through the 10th, we'll do preliminary interviews.
That's with the big screening committee, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. And then interviews with site visits for finalists, and do the following, could we do it the 14th through, will that give us
Yeah.
enough time?
Yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't be able to do 4 days, like,
well.
I mean, there's only 3 schools, so site visits, I mean, you can do the schools in the 3 days. So you could do the 15th through the 17th
Well,
of January.
You've gotta arrange it with the candidates to make sure that they're able to do it, so it may not be as nice and concise.
Mm-hmm.
So my guess is if you're going to do interviews the 6th through the 10th that week,
Mm-hmm.
assuming that you get everybody in, then
The 20th through the 24th.
you're, is the 13th a holiday?
yes, Martin Luther King.
So my guess is then we're looking at the 14th through,
The 17th.
well, you can try.
I mean, we can always,
This is always,
Make a recommendation,
yeah,
pick your interview dates for the screening committee now, and then when you get
then we can
people
figure out the rest of it.
volunteering, that's part of volunteering, is that they are available on those dates.
oh, that's true too.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there as a time saver.
Mm-hmm.
We could list that as tentative, couldn't we?
The
Yeah,
interviews
but-
and site
Do you
visits,
think that would make it tricky?
Not the site visits, you're getting your
the
volunteers
preliminary interviews.
for the parents and that's what I'm talking about, the 10-person group or however big. I'm not talking site visits.
No, we're not, what, are you talking about the constituency of the search committee and those?
I am talking about when you're looking for members for the 6th through the 10th from Mashpee, teachers
No,
need. And when you're doing that, pick the dates now that you're gonna hold
Right.
those interviews.
Make sure
And
they can
people can
commit.
only volunteer if they're free on those dates.
Which is the
They can
January
only
6th
commit.
through the 10th.
Yes.
Right.
Oh,
Do you see what I'm
Yes.
saying?
okay,
Are the interviews during the school day?
No.
No,
no,
In the evening.
this would be
at
at
night.
night.
I'm sorry I keep interrupting, but I
No,
feel like
no,
I
you're
have
fine.
some.
No, we need, I
I
kinda wish
actually-
you were sitting over
I can
here.
sit there if you want,
Just
I feel like I've
because.
done this before, I was on Patty's
But
search
that's why
committee,
we.
so I'm happy to sit there if
I
you
mean,
want.
we have Glenn too, and if, he's,
But I wasn't just trying to be a,
So
no,
we're talking
bossy
the
dog.
sixth through the tenth,
Yeah,
and then the 14th through
the 17th.
17th.
And then we would vote and appoint by,
So we would be.
our February meeting.
right, February meeting.
Which is not a bad time.
No, I think, why not?
Why would we wait? You know, if we do the site visits,
No, the interviews and the interviews with the finalists, that's with all of us.
right,
Okay.
so that would be,
Yeah,
you would
that's
want to
all of us.
have that happen the week of the 15th through the 17th, or 14th through the 17th.
Yeah.
So sometime that week, we're going to meet with all of the candidates,
Yes,
correct?
That's the
yes.
same week as the site visits?
Yes, that's why
I
I'm
thought
confused right now.
Yeah, I thought the site visits took place before.
What happened after we took the
Well, I
final?
can speak from the collaborative
Right.
perspective,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean it's right. Was screening committee interview,
Right.
final interview, site visit.
Yeah.
But final interview and site visit, all three finalists were scheduled for all three of those things. Then the board met the following Friday and voted.
Okay. So if we're gonna do the interviews and the site visits, the 14th through the 17th.
We should meet on the 22nd, the
Then
20th,
we will
that
be
week.
meeting on the 22nd, which I don't think we have a meeting scheduled until the 29th.
I think you're right.
Cause that's our budget.
No, it's a student advisory is the 29th. You have a school committee meeting on the 22nd.
Okay, so we meet
That will
on
Yeah,
the
that works.
22nd
Works.
I guess.
Okay.
would be that date.
Can I make
So-
another question or idea? Just thinking about your candidates coming from far, are you saying, so let's say Brian, Eve and I are the candidates.
Mhm.
Brian's site visit is Tuesday, he comes and does the visit for the day and then does his final interview that night. And then Eve's is
Yeah.
Wednesday, final interview Wednesday night, Thursday for Hope, final, is that what we're doing? So they only come the once?
Because the last one that I went to, I thought they had all three candidates.
That's uncomfortable.
That was a
It's
terrible
awkward.
plan,
No.
Yeah, it's
no
not.
offense,
No,
it was
I-
awful.
It's not.
And if you wanna do it, you totally
No,
can as a
Good for
committee,
anybody.
but no one does it that way.
No,
It
it's
should
not
be
good.
one on Tuesday, one on
It
Wednesday,
should
one
be.
on
Yep.
Thursday.
It's
It's
Exactly.
just disrespectful to the
Right,
candidate.
it's not good for anybody.
Sorry,
Okay,
you asked me to come sit here.
no,
No,
that's
I-
fine. So we would do
So-
one a day
Yeah,
that week.
That's a lot, but if you're gonna do it, I think it
Okay.
makes sense if you can bang out your
So
schedule
then
now.
we'll have 3 meetings that week.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It is what
but
it
they'll
is.
only be an hour.
It is what it is.
the only problem is the 14th I can't do because it's a Tuesday workday, so there's an issue there. And I
At
think
night.
all of us should be there
Oh,
for
yes.
the interviews.
Yes. But
So-
what if you did site visits on
If we did the
the
15th, 16th, 17th.
16th, not 17th, no, we should do a Friday,
Friday, right?
but the 21st,
That gives us one day to,
that's,
to think about it,
really, you should be pretty close to knowing.
yeah. if
You should have a
make
feeling.
decision After.
No, we're good with those.
So if you did site visits on Wednesday the 15th, Thursday the 16th, and Tuesday the 21st,
So the 15th, the 16th.
and then you have a
And the
school committee
21st,
meeting
yeah.
on the
Yeah.
22nd.
Okay,
I don't know, it just seems to make
No,
sense.
that does. So the 15th, the 16th.
hey Glenn,
Glenn,
Yes.
Don has a question.
so if
Yeah.
we publish this timeline in this, posting, are we held to that? If,
The only thing you're held to is the closing date for applications. There are so many factors that can disrupt the timeline that you couldn't possibly be held strictly to it. But you can't move the closing date because that would be unfair to the applicants.
okay, that's a good answer, thank you.
one point we were wrong.
I'm sorry, it's just, unless you're shouting at me,
I was,
everything is mumbled.
Don's voice is very quiet. I can just translate for him.
so,
We
that was
were,
good.
Because you can always hear Hope, right, Don, right, Glenn?
we were wrong about Martin Luther King.
I can only
Day,
hear
so we
what?
could-
Nothing.
We could really do 113, 115, and 116.
Because
Because
the
Martin
20th
Luther
is
King
Martin
is,
Luther
I
King.
thought it was the week before.
I got you.
Okay,
And not,
So
and
13, 15, 17,
so,
16,
16.
13, 15,
but,
16.
but the good thing that Glenn just told us
Yeah.
was, we're not
Yeah.
held to those dates, so if we have to change.
If we have to
them,
change it, we can, okay.
But tentatively, that will
We're
help
gonna have
Did
us.
you
to
see
get
that that
these-
changed, Don?
Huh?
13, 15?
Yeah, I've got that.
We've gotta make sure
14,
Dan
15.
has these because he travels a lot for work and facilitates meetings, so we
I'm
need
gonna
to.
start an email to him right now.
Thank you, cause
I'm gonna
like I
copy
said,
the
if he
chair and
can't be at
Sherry.
these, I
mean,
very
and like you
strongly
said,
feel all
we-
5 of us need to be there.
No, the whole committee should be there and make every.
But like Glenn just said, we're not stuck to these, this is what we're gonna
Yeah.
do for now, so we can
You know,
move
and
on and get
Again,
going
if we
before
just
9
write the
o'clock
word
tonight.
tentative,
I don't know,
I don't even know if we
does your
need that.
calendar go out that far?
I
Yeah,
can make my calendar
okay, so you can make yours.
it's good to
I was
be the
just
boss.
checking when the Super Bowl was, but,
It's not till February.
no, for high school.
Oh,
Non-decision,
Oh, I
probably
think
December.
It's December 13th, don't worry
I'll
about it,
be
we're
done
good.
by then. All
I'm
right,
sorry, I'm going.
all right, anything else on the timeline?
No.
All right, so we've got some edits, we will make these, we will get a copy out, for people to review.
That's a survey, job posting, search committee composition.
And subject to these edits, we will post it this week. Is that consensus of the group?
Sherry, what day would you need to hear back from us on the edits after you send it?
I'll get it done tomorrow, or
ASAP?
turnaround would be, yeah,
Okay.
a day.
I'm just thinking if you gave us an exact time and date for the
I'll
summer.
send it tomorrow, probably by noon time, if you can
Thank
get back to me by Wednesday at noon time, that would be perfect. Or by the end of the day, Wednesday.
Siri's so bossy. All right.
She gets some people
Yeah,
that
we
she shouldn't be in.
seriously need to get this
Yeah,
posted.
yeah.
Okay,
I would say by noon time on Wednesday, that way we can get it to Glenn and he can get it posted.
okay. Well, see, the problem is, Glenn and his staff is going to
Oh,
be
be at the,
at Mass, so this is kind of why we
Yeah.
need to get this to them tomorrow, by the end of the day.
I can have it ready as long as you folks can approve it.
alright,
All right? So, we will get an updated version out, tomorrow. Everyone needs to take a look at it if they have concerns, let us know, okay?
I'll send you a text when I send it.
All right.
thank you, Sherry.
Last but not least, then, the search committee composition. So, I guess the first question off the bat is, how many people do we want to have? And from my perspective, a minimum of 9, and then from there, if we add to that group, it needs to be in increments of 2, so that it's always an odd number. Yes.
May I make a recommendation? I think it's actually more effective if you start with who needs to be represented on that committee and then back your way into the number. Because I think that's essential.
No, I think it is, and
But I agree, I hear what you're saying. I think if you start with who, like the roles, you're
Yeah.
gonna
that will
get
get
there
to
faster.
that will get to a number. And so,
You guys don't have to do everything I recommend though, but I do
No,
have
No,
thoughts
but
and opinions.
because when I tried penciling out 9, I was struggling.
No, it's,
No
it's
way.
exhausting, so,
So,
go ahead.
but we have to start somewhere, and then we figure out
Mhm.
ultimately what the right number is. So, if we were starting off, I believe there should be 2 school committee members on the search committee,
Yeah.
okay? I believe that there should be a tribal representative,
Mhm.
that is appointed from the tribe. Doesn't preclude that there couldn't be another one, but, then it becomes harder because, well, let's skip that. I think the building administrators, the principals,
Do we, no. I think we should get one, I don't think we need all of them.
Well, okay, so let's take maybe one, let's use that as a starting point, and build from there. Central office
At least one.
should have one, I don't know,
I feel like we're getting in the weeds on this already, honestly.
Oh,
Um,
I think if you don't have at least
Yeah.
one principal and at least one central office
Yeah.
representative, your weeds are gonna die.
Yeah.
That's-
It's not, you gotta look
I
at the
mean-
people who are gonna have to deal with this person on a daily basis. I agree, there should be at least one, like, administrator, one of the principals,
You don't wanna not have Ashley.
and
Exactly.
one from the central office.
okay. So, just continue.
I mean, I said Ashley, but it could be, sorry.
I would agree with one administrator, one central office.
Okay,
My list has 13 people.
and that's fine, let's,
The one for Patty had 15, in case you're curious. I was a
So-
parent.
I think obviously we need to have union representation,
Mm-hmm,
right?
yeah,
One from each unit.
yeah.
I have an idea on that. I would actually give them 2 spots, one for the president, and they can choose who the
Yeah.
other representative
Okay.
is. Let them choose the second
Yeah,
person.
okay.
Whether it's from C, B, whatever,
Oh, okay, I'm not gonna say how many yet, but let's just, I'm.
but letting them choose.
Well, I'm,
It should
right
be
now, I'm just saying, union need
Yeah.
representation, maybe it's one, maybe it's two.
Eve should be on
Eve
there,
should be
represent
there.
the students.
A student representation, so I think at least one for that. And then parents,
I think if we have the PTOs choose somebody from the
Yeah.
organizations, those are the people that are already actively involved in the school, they're the ones you're gonna get here.
The PTO and the boosters.
PTOs and boosters.
so
Maybe
I don't know how
somebody from
many
CPAC.
that group needs to have.
One from each school. So you get one from the PTO at
You have to make sure
Coombs.
you qualify that they're
One.
not on both.
You got one at the PTO.
Okay, so potentially three spots
Yeah.
here.
I would push back and just say whoever, you should have one parent, they don't all need to be PTO, but somebody needs to represent special education.
Yes.
As a parent,
Absolutely.
so whether,
As a
from
parent,
whatever building.
What about an ELL parent?
Yeah,
From where?
an ELL parent.
Yes,
Again, I just,
that's a lot.
special ed, CPAC, and LPAC, actually, those are sort of
Yeah.
essential components of those groups,
Okay,
is this.
so we'll have to figure out that representation. And then we've talked about student rep, the other one I had is other.
I'd like to be the other.
Mhm.
I agree.
I work very closely with the superintendent and I feel that I
I feel like you should
should
be
have
the
a say.
Oh, you're thinking Ashley and Sherry.
I think those are two
Ashley
very
needs
different
to be on
roles
there.
that
Yeah.
need to, they're just, a lot of stuff happens
Yeah.
that you guys don't know anything about, and these people do.
No, I'm not.
No, I'm saying it out loud, not to you, I'm just,
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
and that's only with one student.
Yeah.
So, one,
So that's two
three,
school committee members, one admin, so one of the principals.
Yeah,
The president of the MTA, one representative from unit either A or C, they can choose it. The
Well, it
student
could be- it
It
representative.
could be any of them.
Any,
B or
They
C.
pick
Well, the
whoever.
president of the MPT, she's
It
part
doesn't
of B.
matter.
no,
They
she's
should-
not,
She's not?
no, she's an A.
They should be able to
So
pick
then the
whoever.
student rep, so it'd be the president of the Mashpee Teachers Association and a member
Another
of
person.
A, B, or C.
Right.
A special ed parent. A tribal member. I mean, do we really need somebody from a Mashpee business? I mean, cause that was the other thing I was thinking.
We had, when I was on the committee for Patty's hiring as a parent, somebody from FinCom was on there, town manager was on there.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm not saying we should, I'm just saying it was extraordinarily robust. So I think if we can make sure, I think this is getting big, but I think you need all of this representation.
So,
Okay,
So what is that,
hold
2,
on.
3,
How many
4,
are we up to
5,
now?
6,
I have
7,
2.
10, 11, 12.
That's
That's 14.
I have 13.
I have 2 at the central office,
Yeah.
Sherry and Ashley.
Yeah,
Mashpee business, a
Oh,
tribal
yeah.
member, 3 parents,
3 parent?
one from each school,
okay.
one special ed parent.
Okay, I'm gonna back up.
student rep.
When did we say 3 parents?
The 3 parents, one of them should be a special, you don't need 4
Yeah.
parents.
No, it
That's
should be
too many,
Okay.
a
that's too many.
SPED, an ELL, or CPAC, what are, yeah.
LPAC,
Yeah,
CPAC,
okay.
and then one other parent, and
Okay.
then 3 total.
So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
13,
13?
right?
2,
That's what-
3.
What's missing?
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, quite honest, I don't have to be part of the,
No, no, no.
I mean,
No,
Yes,
you
you
do,
do, not
Sherry,
all.
you do.
I just, yeah, I
Yes, you
actually
do.
do.
You do.
So, let me just go through what I think I've got. I've got 2 for the school committee,
Mhm.
a tribal representative, 1 building administrator,
Yeah.
1 central office, 2 for the union, 2 for the parents.
3.
Three parents.
You're gonna still do 3?
2 central office.
1 SPED parent, 1 CPAC, LPAC parent, and then 1 just parent.
Yeah, it's, 1 special education, 1 ELL,
ELL,
and
sorry.
1, that's okay, and 1,
Okay,
Regular.
okay,
they're all regular.
okay. And then 1 student rep, and then Sherry, then we talked about.
Ashley,
On my own category.
or are you saying Ashley's the administrator?
No, she was the central office.
She was the central office
Okay.
person.
The administrative would be either
Yeah, no, I
Bonnie
just don't
or
wanna make sure,
Elijah.
cause I don't know, I missed the central office one.
I think it should be Elijah.
I
Um,
love Elijah.
and then we talked about FinCom with someone from Bilson.
It's bigger, I think it should
Is
be
that
Bonnie.
right?
What'd you say?
We didn't say FinCom, none of us.
No,
no, no,
We
no,
said
no.
We
FinCom.
talked-
No, I talked
We
about
said-
last time, just saying that it was
No.
big,
So
I don't
take
believe you
Yep.
need all of
Take
them.
it.
Just never get it scheduled.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We need to have an odd
No,
number.
we have 13.
I have Mashpee, do you have Mashpee business?
That was the other.
That was
Two school,
13.
two,
Yeah, that would make 13.
So like a Southport Falcon or a,
Yeah.
like something like that?
Yeah.
Rich Reagan has sat on committees before.
Yeah,
I was
I
thinking
have
Mark at the
emails
Polar
from-
Cave, so he.
He
can
did
answer
email
questions.
expressing, but
I'm not saying him, I'm just
no,
saying
no,
it could
no,
be anyone.
no, I'm saying Mark,
Oh, Lawrence?
there, I had some people express interest right off the bat.
Yeah, we did.
So yeah, we're just throwing out, there's no names right now because
No.
you're gonna open it up to people to
Yes.
apply.
right, these are slots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so
And
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Although,
9,
can
10,
I,
11, 12, 13.
I wanna make the case though, I do feel like central office, unless somebody else steps up, I kinda like the idea of it being Ashley and Sherry. Sherry's gonna be the right hand of this person, and I feel like she, that point of her needing input, I feel like those should be locked right in.
Yeah, those are
Like,
it.
And
I think-
Ashley's the only
and
central office
Ashley is-
person left.
Yeah.
And then Ashley's the only,
Yeah.
but also Ashley is another,
Yes.
other hand
Yes.
to this person,
Yes.
so I feel
Wholeheartedly
like
agree.
those two need to,
Those need
without
to be.
But
question.
Eve is a no-brainer.
So-
And yes, some of them are already locked in.
Right, we can decide because
I mean, and I've seen what a
we've
superintendent
got a
does
lot
on
in
a
the school
daily
committee
basis.
representatives. We'll have to make a decision on theirs.
The union rep, or the
The presidents are set in stone.
Miss Pettingill,
Right, that one's set in stone.
So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 set in stone,
1, 2,
yes,
3,
right?
yes,
5.
5,
Who's the 5th one?
We're gonna have the 2 school committee members, right?
yes.
2 central, central office, the union president, and then Sherry.
And Eve.
And Eve.
And Eve.
Wait,
So
what
it's
do you mean?
2,
What do you mean 2 central
4,
office?
5,
I
6.
count as central
Well,
office.
She
Sherry
counts
is,
as central
Ashley
office.
and Sherry are central office.
So there's the 2 for
Right.
central office,
Right, those are,
right? So
Yeah.
there's 2,
That's
3, 4, 5, 6 set in stone. The 2 school
Yes.
committee members, the president of the MTA,
Yeah.
Eve, and Sherry and
And
Ashley. 2, 3, 4,
so I guess the
5, 6.
question.
And the president of the MTA,
Yes,
Susan.
So then the question
you- I
becomes
have
in regard to
Zan.
the building administrators of one versus the other, that
But that's what we gotta figure out, like,
Say that again, sorry.
would Mary,
administrator,
Cause,
or one or the other.
cause would you want Mary Kate
No.
or
no,
would
Mary
you
Kate's
want,
leaving.
you want one of the new
Well, I can
ones?
honestly say Mr. Switzer reached out to us of, he would like to sit on that committee.
I talked to him today though, and he felt like Bonnie might be a better fit because she has 6th grade. I think you should see which principals wanna sit on it,
Mhm.
and then you can decide. I think
Yeah,
that
we don't
I
have to.
agree.
make a
people should get
decision.
opportunities to step forward who didn't necessarily email.
And administration also would include the vice principals and
Yes.
the director of, or
No.
the,
No, that would be in units, A,
oh,
B, or C, because they're in B.
okay. No, that actually is, thank
So
you,
we'll allow
thank you
them
for
to-
clarifying
Sure.
that.
So we got Sherry, Ashley, Suzanne, Eve,
Yeah.
and then the two, whoever we choose as the two school committee members.
So we need to put out an email we need to put out a couple emails, one to principals.
Just Elijah and Bonnie.
Elijah and Bonnie, right?
Yeah.
Email.
Well,
We need-
we're gonna have to do a letter to the tribe, formally to you
Yep.
guys,
Yeah, we'll get that done.
but just so that you have some formal request.
And then do we
And
go
To
to
the
Suzanne
parents.
about the representatives?
Yeah,
That's- okay,
that
so
would be
then-
part of it too.
Okay,
And then the ELL, so then we'll need a letter to go to the special ed parents, the ELL parents, see who will come forward.
Yeah.
So that's 1, 2, 3.
I think if you write whatever letter, get it to
Mhm.
me and Christine, I'll make sure it's translated in all the languages it needs to be in for our English learning, our ELL parents, and Christine can get it out to all of us.
Will it be clear, not that I wanna preclude anyone from participating if English isn't strong enough, but
No, I'll get
will
it.
we let them, can we let them know that the meetings will be held in English and they've got the little hearing
There's
things,
pocket
right?
talks, but we could also get an interpreter. if we
Okay.
needed to.
Alright, I just wanna make sure that it's clear that the meetings will be held, you know,
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
if interpreters are needed, we'll.
yes, that's what we
Yeah,
can say,
thank
if
you.
interpreters are needed.
Yeah, like I'm totally open to,
No,
I wanna
I
make
know,
sure that,
but-
that the letter coming in their language just doesn't set an expectation that
It's
we'll
all
be
gonna
having
in
meetings in their language, because I do not speak a lot of languages.
Bulgarian or whatever.
I speak
All right, So-
language.
well, we will get a letter out this week
Yeah, okay,
to all of those.
so that's good, 13, I like that number.
Will the school committee members be, one of the two be the chair of this committee?
Yes,
Okay.
they should be.
Do what you want with
Do
it.
you set the time for that?
That's just what it's like.
I mean, my recommendation was gonna be to keep the two people that were on previously, but.
That was George and.
No.
Oh, this time.
Before that.
That'd be me and Dan.
It was, yeah, maybe, but I'm fine with whatever the board decides.
Well, it's up to who wants to be on the committee.
I would love to do it, but that's up to you guys.
Well,
I was gonna express interest too in it personally, just because I feel like, you know, it's a lot.
And Dan's not here for his
Yeah,
vote,
so I'm almost hesitant without him here.
Right. I
But we
was
have a
gonna say.
meeting next week, we could.
We do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we could.
yeah, we
Decide
don't
that
have to
next
fill our
week.
slots
No.
until next week.
We all have to go with.
Really, the first thing was to
There you go.
get who you wanted on it and maybe get these letters
Yeah.
out.
We'll worry
Yeah.
about everybody else and then we'll come back and circle around.
Ours is easy though.
Yeah.
Because the letters, we're gonna need to get.
Yeah.
What date do we want their responses from the letters?
Well, right now, we
When do
don't
we
have
have
another committee meeting this month.
I lost track of time.
You
We
have
have
next
one on
week.
Wednesday.
We have one next week.
Well, right,
After that.
Oh, no.
after that, we don't have
So
another
the
one
selection
scheduled.
time.
but It doesn't preclude that we can't have a special one to address that,
To address what?
to address the appointment of other individuals to this.
I don't think we need a meeting for that, do we?
Can't you just
Unless we have a lot of people to pick from, I guess, would be the only
If
concern.
you, yeah, if you have multiple people expressing interest,
Okay, yeah.
I would hope that we have more than two parents.
Yeah, let's get this down. The other thing is the dates of the interviews should be in the letters.
Yes.
So if
So
it's the
people
week
can
of the
plan.
6th,
Mhm.
Well, there's more than just those meetings.
right,
Yeah,
There's
you could do
going
it.
But those are the
Going
ones they're
through,
definitely gonna need to clear, like,
Well,
I
they,
think,
they need to be, yeah, they need to be able to participate in the orientation.
Mhm.
They need to be able to participate in the question formulation process. and they need to be able to participate, obviously, in the interviews. But they need to be able to participate all three of
Right.
those.
But the interviews have to be in person, they could do those other things you described
Via
with
Zoom.
with Zoom.
They could,
I mean, I think my recommendation would be, respecting the ones that are here. I mean, I would feel comfortable with moving forward with, Kelly and Kathy. And maybe Kathy being the chair of the search committee, just so that way we can at least get somebody in there to start, filling these positions, start doing that stuff and bring back the recommendations, and that way it gives Kathy the ability to work with Dawn as the chair, to kind of carry on all the rest of the stuff that you guys are talking about. So that's just my recommendation. And I'd be willing to make that.
okay? Motion to appoint Kelly and Kathy, with Kathy being the chair of the search committee. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I was gonna say, can
Yeah, you can. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Brian, how are you?
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Four with one abstention. Okay?
One absent.
One absence.
Absent, it's different.
It's very
Okay.
different. So do you want me to write that draft letter then and get it
To share.
to share,
So-
to
Sure.
Hope, and, okay.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
And why don't we say hold the evenings, the following evenings, and we'll say that the Monday,
I'll draft a tentative
All right.
sketch.
perfect.
Love
Love
it.
it.
Don't worry.
So make a final decision for the show.
You know, like I
Thank
said,
you.
it's gonna go internally first and then
We'll
we'll,
figure
but
it out.
I just figure if I can get a tentative like calendar
Love it.
dates, that makes more sense, cause are there any nights that don't work for you?
Tuesday nights.
Great, they don't work for me either.
All right,
I can do Thursdays until like.
Glenn, did you hear what we just did?
Did I?
Yes.
You adjourn.
No, not yet. That,
Okay.
so Kathy Lewis is going to be the chair of the search committee.
Okay,
So you'll be working with her in regard to, the search committee and the orientation and the subsequent meetings that the search committee needs to take and have,
right,
okay?
okay. So perhaps if you give me a call tomorrow,
Okay.
and, we can just have some initial discussions about what has to happen.
Alright, sounds good.
Okay,
And I'll see you Wednesday through whenever, cause I'll be at the conference as well.
all right, well, we can talk there as well.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Next.
All right. Any further business that needs to transpire tonight? We've accomplished a lot, I think.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Kathy, second by Kelly.
I gotta pee again.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Brian,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
and yes, so it's unanimous. Excellent. All right, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.